Hello, welcome to another episode of Shardcast. I am Aaron Froats, your host. Today we'll be going to a matchup of exhibition proportions. That seems very grandiose for the match that it is. However, I'm going to make it that way because an old friend of ours, Kaga, will be involved. Yes, Zach Kaga Wisner, who was involved in the first Shardcast, will be taking part in an exhibition match between Hubbe, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name, Hubbe versus Kaga. Hubbe will be playing a Blood Ruby deck, while Kaga is playing a Blood Sapphire deck based around the Volcanon card. So, without further delay, we'll go ahead and get you involved in the match here. And unfortunately, the way we got the feed, we weren't able to catch the coin flip, but it looks like Hubbe got the coin flip and played the first round. So, as we go to that now, we will take a look at it. And Hubbe played a Ruby Shard and looks like Unmerciful Tormentor on the first turn. So Kaga looks at his opening hand of 2 Blood Shards, a Shard of Fate, a Murder, Persecute, Extinction, and Volcanon. So Hubbe again played a Ruby Shard first turn and an Unmerciful Tormentor, which is a 1/1 troop for 1 that turns into a 4/4, or gets +3/+3 I should say, if you have no cards in hand. Kaga draws a Sapphire Shard, so we'll see which one he plays first here. He plays a Blood Shard or Sapphire Shard, none of which really help him at this point in time. Maybe the Blood Shard because he has the double threshold on Murder and on Extinction. Again, Kaga was part of the opening Shardcast episode and was going to be part of the Shardcast team, but decided to focus primarily on his more play and tournament directing endeavors rather than spend more time with Shardcast. So we wish him the best of luck in all of the things he does. If you check one of our earlier episodes of Shardcast, we did have an interview with Kaga after he got done directing the pool round of the Second Streamers tournament by HexTCG Pro and Hexcasters. So please check that out. He decided to play he played the Shards of Fate and pulled a Sapphire Threshold. So Shards of Fate again allows you to pull any threshold off of any basic shard you have in your deck. However, you don't get a temporary resource that turn. So he pulled the Sapphire Threshold, gets the permanent resource but not a temporary one. Pass his turn back over. For sake of broadcasting, I'm going to continue to call his opponent Hubbe. Again, if that's not how you pronounce your name, I truly apologize. Mine is mispronounced all the time. And if you pronounce it any different way, please let me know. And if I can get you in on another cast, I will, and pronounce it correctly the second time around. In the meantime, plays a Blood Shard, giving him 1 Blood Shard threshold and 1 Ruby threshold. 2 resources total for his second turn. And let's see if he elects to play anything first main phase. He doesn't. Instead, he's going to no doubtly swing with that Unmerciful Tormentor. He does. Kaga with nothing on the board will take the 1 damage and go down to 19. Second main phase. Hubbe just passes on, so he'll keep the 5 cards in hand and 2 resources available. Kaga, on his draw step, draws a Life Siphon, plays a Blood Shard, giving him 2 resources, 1 of each threshold, Blood and Sapphire. So he can play a Persecute anytime. Would seem silly to waste a Persecute on an Unmerciful Tormentor. I would imagine we'd see that in response to him playing his last card in hand to make sure he dies before he gets to become a 4/4. Persecute again is target troop gets -3/-3 till end of turn, and it costs 2 to play. Pass turn back over to Hubbe. Hubbe draws and plays a Ruby Shard, giving him 3 total. Again, only 1 Blood threshold, so even though he's playing a Blood deck of sorts, he cannot play Murder at this time because he only has 1 Blood threshold. So on his first main phase, let's see if Hubbe decides to put anything else out on the board. This is officially our 12th episode of Shardcast. We thank each and every one of you who have tuned in. We are up over 250 total views of all the Shardcasts. And we have up to 8 subscribers now. One of which is actually me, so that doesn't really count my personal account there. So technically 7 subscribers. But I do encourage you to please subscribe to the channel. That way you get notification anytime I post a new video out there. We do take on exhibition matches and tournament matches as you've seen thus far. And if you'd like to be featured in any of the matches again, just send me a shout out either by Twitter. You can see my Twitter handle there below me in the cast, @Fruitsylvania. Or send me a message there on the YouTube channel itself. Maybe comment on one of the videos, and I'll see if I can't get your feed in on one of my shardcasts in the future. The only thing I do ask is if you do want to be featured in a shardcast, we ask that you have your feed up there unrestricted. You can have frills and stuff around your screen for your stream, but we ask that you don't have any of your webcam portion over top of the actual gameplay screen or in your chat, because it makes it more difficult to see and to crop out. So Hubbe plays a Wrathseeker, which is a 1/1 with Rage 2, meaning as it attacks, it gets +2/+0 permanently when it attacks, so it grows large rather quickly. That did cost all 3 of his resources, so he's out now. He will swing with his Tormentor again. Kaga will go down to 18 as a result. Unless he decides to Persecute. He can Persecute now because Persecute is a quick action. Chooses not to, and goes down to 18 health. It's interesting that Hubbe does not hold any resources back. I don't know if he's going for the aggro type with the troops here, hoping to get as much damage in before an extinction, as he knows Kaga is playing Blood. Or what, because usually you see Ruby players hold at least 1 resource back for a burn spell, but he did not. Kaga draws a Bottle Vitae, plays a Blood Shard, and drops that Bottle Vitae right on the battlefield. Bottle Vitae is an artifact for 1, that if you pay 2 and sacrifice the Vitae, you gain 1 health, 1 champion charge, and draw a card. And because it's an artifact and not a troop, he can actually activate that as soon as it hits the battlefield. He chooses not, though, and passes his turn back over to Hubbe. So to review what Kaga's got in his hand, he's got Sapphire Shard, Murder, Persecute, Extinction, Life Siphon, and Volcanon. Hubbe draws for turn 4. And let's see if he's able to drop another shard down there and play. If he can get that second blood threshold, it pretty much opens up any blood deck out there. Uranaz is a 3 threshold card. If he does get the second blood shard, meaning he has 2 blood threshold now, opening up Murder and Extinction, it does give him his 4th champion charge for poking the Conflagrator, which for 4 charges and 2 ruby threshold, which he's already met, he can put a 3/1 troop out there, a Blaze Elemental, that has speed, but is sacrificed in a turn. So with no troops out there to block, you might see Hubbe use his champion power here just to get some more damage in. He plays a Dark Spire Enforcer, which is just a 3/2 troop. Pretty vanilla. Interesting that's actually in the deck. Usually don't see something that vanilla in a deck, but he plays it anyway. Hubbe does use his champion charge. We apologize, this was a little choppy part of the feed here, so we'll see if it smooths out here for you in a second. Plays the champion ability. Here comes the 3/1 Blaze Elemental with speed, so it can attack this turn. And as they attack, the Wrathseeker's ability of Rage goes on the stack, or the chain actually, as it's referred to here in Hex. So we'll get +2/+0 permanently now from the Rage 2 ability. But before it actually resolves, Kaga's going to cast Persecute and pull it off the board. So that will actually make the Wrathseeker a -2/-2, so as it resolves, it will kill the troop and pull off the board. So the Wrathseeker ability will stay on the chain, but as it resolves, it gets nothing to go to, so it will just fizzle. And Hubbe's now attacking for 4 total. Kaga with no blockers and no resources left over will drop down to 14. 20 to 14 is the life totals. Hubbe has the lead with 3 troops on board. Kaga has no troops on board, but a Bottle Vitae. Actually, Hubbe's down to 2 troops on board as the Blaze Elemental is sacrificed at the end of turn. Kaga will draw here. At the top of turn 4. Draws another Extinction, so that will buy him some time. Drops his Sapphire Shard. And play the Extinction. Now he has 4 resources. That will wipe the board. And with that last shard, actually lights up the champion power of Bertram there, which will allow him to put a 1/1 worker bot with defensive on the board, if you'd like to. Kaga, after resolving the extinction and wiping the board, chooses to pass the first main phase. And we'll probably look to pass the second main phase. Cracking the bottle Vitae is a basic action, so you can only do it on his turn. 20 to 14 again, the life totals. Hubbe draws for the beginning of the 5th turn. 4 cards in hand now after the draw. And we'll play another Wrathseeker. So again, that's a 1/1 troop for 3. That when it attacks has Rage 2. So we'll get +2/+0 permanently. You have to think that's going to be murdered. Kaga with a murder in hand will probably wait and hold on to that and use it whenever the Wrathseeker attacks next turn. Kaga draws a Blood Shard, drops it on the board. He's going to crack the Vitae, going down to 3 temporary resources, but he gains a charge. Brings his health back up to 15, and we'll get to draw a charge. Or draw a card, I'm sorry. Draws a charge bot. And let's see if he decides to hold on to those 3 resources so he can murder the Wrathseeker next turn. Or if he decides to put the charge bot out there and actually use it to block. Because the Wrathseeker only gets +2/+0. Doesn't get added defensive, so they would trade. Kaga then goes ahead and uses the champion ability to put a worker bot out in play. Both of these could block the Wrathseeker and kill the Wrathseeker. They would trade, but at this point in time, the worker bot did not cost Kaga anything as far as resources go. There's a free card in play. It would take a Wrathseeker off the board. So it wouldn't be a bad block. 2 resources left over, though, because of the charge bot. He can't murder anything, so he probably will block. Pass his turn back over to Hubbe. Hubbe draws a card. Up to 4 cards now. Plays Ruby Aura, which will give the troop Swift Strike and +1/+0. So now it's 2/1 and gets Swift Strike. Swift Strike, for those of you who aren't familiar, means that the attack of the Wrathseeker will actually do damage first before any return attacks. And then he also puts a Arena Brawler out there, which is a 3/1 troop. So if he attacks with the Wrathseeker, it will become a 4/1 because of the Rage 2 ability. And because of the Ruby Aura. So if Kaga decides to block, it will kill the bot, but it won't kill the Wrathseeker in response. So Kaga will save himself the 4 damage to the chin, but it will lose the bot in response, and the Wrathseeker won't be taken off the board. So not a bad play there from Hubbe. So now he has a 4/1 and a 3/1. Sorrow, which is or Sorrow, depending on where you're from, is a blood card that wouldn't be half bad in this situation. We'll see if he's got one in deck. Kaga on his draw step draws another charge bot. He has 5 resources. The Volcanon's available for play. Volcanon says, exhaust it and exhaust another artifact you control and deal 3 damage to target champion. Then if you exhaust another artifact, I believe, you get to ready Volcanon. So if you have several artifacts, I think the artifacts were dwarfs actually. Therefore, if you have several out there, it can ramp up pretty quickly. Kaga, is he going to murder before? Yep, he's going to go ahead and murder before, since Hubbe doesn't have any resources to counteract anything or make the Wrathseeker invulnerable or whatever he decides to do. Really, he can't without I believe that's a spell shield, which is a wild spell. Either way, he goes ahead and murders him on his own turn there, so goes down to 2 resources, plays a charge bot now, goes down to 1 resource, and plays his worker bot champion power. So Kaga now has 3 1/1s out there. Hubbe has a 3/1. Life totals are at 20 to 15. Hubbe over Kaga. As we move to turn 6, Hubbe will take a card off the top of his library, bringing his hand total up to 3. And here comes a Savage Raider, which is a 1-drop 2/1, but has to attack each turn if able. So that will instantly trade next turn with one of the bots on the board for Kaga. If Kaga chooses to, Kaga, again because the Volcanon, may not start sacrificing his bots to Hubbe if he can all help it. Again, Kaga can't afford to be taking 5 in the face each turn either from the Arena Brawler and the Savage Raider, so we'll see how this works out. Hubbe decides he is going to attack with the Arena Brawler. Let's see if Kaga trades. He will with the Worker Bot he just put in play last turn. So they will trade unless there's anything else that Hubbe decides to play. He does not. So both troops go to the graveyards. Hubbe, with 3 resources still available, passes turn back over to Kaga. Kaga, top of turn 6. Gains the Sapphire Shard. So up to 6 resources. Plays the Volcanon now. That now basically tells Hubbe, I'm going to start pinging away at you 3 at a time. So we'll see if Hubbe has a response for that. A lot of players don't play any cards in their deck that remove constants or artifacts off the board. It is still early in the very first set here for Hex TCG, so not a lot of options as far as that goes, especially with Blood and Ruby. He could be playing a Chaos Key, which is a colorless artifact, which would void the Volcanon off the board. But other than that, there really isn't much he can play in response. So we'll see how this works out. Again, because the Volcanon requires artifacts to deal any damage, you could also nullify its effect by removing all the troops off the board. So we'll see. Hubbe draws a card, up to 3 cards again. Plays a Shadow Grove Witch, which when this troop enters play, each champion reveals a troop from their hand, or a card from their hand. If it's a troop, that troop gets -2/-2 permanently. But seeing as how Kaga has an Extinction and a Life Siphon in hand, nothing to worry about. But the Witch itself is a 2/4, so it's not bad at all. Moving to the attack phase, the Savage Raider has to attack each turn it's able, so it immediately exhausts to swing for damage. We'll see if Kaga decides to trade with it or not, or decides to take 2 on the chin. With that Life Siphon in hand and 6 resources, I imagine he'll probably take it and leave those artifacts for the Volcanon. He does. Nope, he doesn't. He actually chooses to block here. Interesting. But he chooses to block and exhausts it in response. Savvy move there. Kaga is a veteran TCG player. By doing that, since there was a blocker declared, the damage from the Savage Raider still will not go through. Or actually, it will. Hold on a second. Oh, it's exhaust, not sacrifice. My apologies. So by exhausting the charge bot, still serves as a blocker, and you get to ready another artifact, so he readies it back up. And it trades with the Savage Raider. A savvy play there. I thought it would have been sacrificed, which would have been even more of a savvy play. Nevertheless, we'll move on. Kaga, on his turn, draws another charge bot and plays Life Siphon for 6, bringing his life total back up to 21 and Hubbe down to 11. And we'll pass turn back over. While we have a second, going back over, I was talking about that last attack phase. If you do sacrifice a creature that is currently blocking, because a blocker was declared, the troop that was blocked by that troop will not have its damage go through without the crush ability. So it is a savvy play if you can sacrifice a troop and get an ability in return to go ahead and block with that troop and then sacrifice it to still nullify damage there. Back on to Hubbe's next turn. I believe this is turn 7, if I'm counting correctly. He draws a card to go up to 3 again. Plays another Arena Brawler. Begins a 3/1 troop. And we'll swing with the Ember Spire Witch. I'm sorry, not Ember Spire Witch. Shadow Grove Witch, I'm sorry. Ember Spire Witch would be a Ruby card. Shadow Grove Witch swings for 2, and Kaga will take it, going down to 19. Second main phase, Hubbe passes it over and will pass turn. Kaga with 2 cards in hand, again a charge bot and a Extinction. At the end of Hubbe's turn, though, he chooses to activate Volcanon and deal 3 damage to Hubbe. On his turn, he draws a counter magic and plays a charge bot. So now he can actually do 6 damage with the Volcanon here. Actually, if that's the worker bot, that will actually end game. If I remember how Volcanon works properly. Let's see here. I think I'm missing a step. I believe it says you can exhaust an artifact you control, but you have to exhaust Volcanon too, so that won't work. Exhaust another artifact to ready Volcanon. You can deal 6 damage with 3 bots out there, using 1 to deal damage, 1 to ready, and 1 to deal damage again. We'll see in a second, I would imagine. Pass his turn back over. Zombie Vulture, which is a 4/2 flight creature. Kaga, with enough resources in hand, will counter magic. And send the Vulture to the graveyard, and making it and all other copies of it, for Hubbe, a permanent cost of +2. As another added effect to counter magic. Instead of being a 4/2 with flight for 5, it will be a 4/2 with flight for 7 now. Interesting, as we're in the Hex Alpha here, all the Alpha players have access to every card in the set, and 4 copies of every card. So it's interesting that Hubbe is playing so many vanilla cards. However, it's also encouraged to play as many cards as you want to and try different combos to make sure all the cards work and to learn about the metagame. If you haven't already taken part in backing Hex, there is a Slacker Backer option for $50, which allows you to have instant access to the Hex Alpha, as well as about $85 worth of merchandise once the game goes live. So if you are at all interested in the game, check out hextcg.com and sign up for the Slacker Backer today. Here comes that play again from Kaga, where he's going to choose to block with the charge bot. Again, you don't have to be... If you exhaust as you are blocking, you can still deal damage back. So exhaust, activating Volcan's ability, deals 3 damage to Hubbe and still blocks and kills the Arena Brawler. So Hubbe down to 5 life. Any sort of damage spell or bot. No, bot still wouldn't. Yes, a bot still would do it because Kaga can use his champion power. So any shard or bot will win Kaga the game here. Can I say any shard? Life Siphon or any bot would do it. Let's see. The game finishes syncing. Kaga will start his next turn. And let's see if he draws a bot here. He draws a shard. So that will put a worker bot out into play. If he decides to choose to, he doesn't. Although at the end of the next turn, he can use the Volcano at the end of Hubbe's turn and start of his next turn. Unless Hubbe gets some life back here with a Life Siphon, that is his game, or removes the charge bot. This is game over. Hubbe drops a Ruby Shard for 6 resources, still has 1 card in hand. It's a Throat Cutter, which won't help. His Kaga will just take the damage. Throat Cutter allows every orc in play under his control to get Rage +1. The Witch is not an orc, so he'll just deal 2 damage. At the end of Hubbe's turn, you have to imagine he's going to activate Volcanon to deal 3 damage, and then at the start of his own turn, when the charge bot readies again, activates Volcanon again to end the game. Let's see. End phase. Activate Volcanon. Deal 3 damage. Down to 2 goes Hubbe. Start of turn, they're both ready. First main phase. Heavy welding bot. Not sure why he's playing it. Not necessary, but we'll see. Kind of rub-ins. Heavy welding bot allows him to go get a target robot out of his graveyard when it comes into play. See, this is Rubbins. He just needs to activate one of these in order to do the game here, so. Second main phase. End phase. Doesn't activate the ability. What's he doing? He's going to wait till his prep phase. Wow. That will activate Volcanon. These will activate all of them. And that is game. So the Volcanon deck, which if you watch any of the second tournament streamers, proved to be a pretty difficult deck to deal with. In this case, Kaga also proved that it's a pretty decent deck in exhibition mode as well, as he wins out there against Hubbe. Again, Hubbe, I apologize, that's not how you pronounce your name. But in the end, Kaga wins, and that'll be all for today. So thanks again for tuning in. Please follow me on Twitter and on YouTube, and until next time, so long.
Brace yourself.